one nation. Under goons, my goons are stripping all these cats down in the under rooms. Rooms, 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 rooms. Narco.
Low Roller, we got you.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Batter Up. It is a new season, and we also have a brand new intro and outro. That reminds me of Edwin Diaz when he comes out of the bullpen gate to close out a Mets game. But unfortunately, we will not be seeing him play this year because he broke his leg in a World Baseball Classic game. But Isaiah, how's it going?
What's up, Loro? Taylor, it's good to see you as well, man. I mean, that intro right there, that new intro just got me fired up for the baseball season. What a killer intro that we have for Batter Up this season. I'm excited, man. It's going to be a great season. It's going to be a great show. Looking forward to it. I can't wait, man. There's a lot of these teams that weren't in the playoffs last season that made a lot of big moves. So we might see a lot of new teams in the playoffs next or this upcoming season. But, man, a new season means everybody starts off at 0-0. Everybody's got, hope and dreams of making the playoffs. So I can't wait, man. Opening day is tomorrow, and, here we go. Baseball is finally back.
Always, man. I'm so excited for this brand new season. And Taylor, how's it going?
Going good, Isaiah. Always good to, with my favorite sport, hockey, winding down for the season, and now since once again my Ducks aren't going to the playoffs, now I get to focus on my Angels, and of course it's always good to stay busy during hockey's off season, and not to mention opening day tomorrow, and of course my Angels are going to be in Oakland against your A's, Isaiah. I'm expecting a good matchup, and not to mention you're going to have to face Ohtani, so be prepared. But in any event, this upcoming season is probably going to hopefully the Angels, they've really retooled their lineup. But we'll get to more on that later, but I'm expecting 162 games from of great baseball from pretty much every team.
Well, Isaiah, I'm going to ask you this. Are you working the A's and Angels game tomorrow at the Coliseum?
Sadly, I won't be right now because I am currently at a job event here in Seattle for my other job, which is working at Alaska Airlines. So I'm in Seattle right now. The event is tomorrow. It's tomorrow all day, so I won't be able to fly back to Oakland in time for the game. So I'm kind of bummed about that because I have never missed an opening day ever since I started working for the A's, and this is going to be my first opening day that I'm going to be missing. So it's going to be kind of weird in a way and also kind of sad because I really want to be in the Coliseum, with the A's fans, watching Kyle Muller on the mound and watching Ohtani pitch as well. But, I'll be watching from afar. I wanted to go to the Mariners game actually, but since I'm in Seattle, but unfortunately it is sold out. So that's also a bummer as well. But no, I won't be there because I'm currently in Seattle.
You talk about, I think the Mariners are going to be a great team this year, but let's go to our favorite team preview segment. I'm going to start first with my LA Dodgers. If you guys want to add something to that, go for it here. My prediction for the Dodgers and what my record is for them, I have them winning 102 games, but they lose 62. But I also think that what their strengths are, I mean that with guys like Blake Trinan and Daniel Hudson out, the Dodgers' strengths are the bullpen. You also have to realize that the Dodgers still have one of the best lineups in baseball, despite losing guys like Trey Turner to Isaiah's Phillies. And then you also lose Justin Turner to the Boston Red Sox. And then even Tyler Anderson now going from Dodger Blue to Angel Red. He's going to be a big part of this rotation, which I think he will. And then all in all, I think the Dodgers are going to be fine. The Dodgers are not going to be counted out. And I don't think that this is a team that no one should mess with. You got a great farm system. You got good young players coming up in Miguel Vargas and James Outman, who both made the opening day roster. And Gavin Lux being out, that's a big blow for the Dodgers. But hey, I trust Miguel Rojas, almost said Vargas, and also Chris Taylor to play short. But Miggy V, those two guys are going to be a great double play combo in the middle of the infield here. Miguel Rojas is a run saver and a guy that can play any position in the infield. But I also think that Walker Buehler could be back this year, but I'm not going to count it just because he's going to be back in 24, which I think is going to be huge for the Dodgers when it comes to building their rotation. But a lot of early speculation is about Shohei Ohtani being a Dodger, and I do think that come next offseason, Shohei Ohtani will end up being with my Dodgers. Sorry, Taylor, I had to say that because that's been a lot of speculation and a lot of chatter about Ohtani leaving the Angels after this season to switch teams. But we'll see what the Angels do. The Angels are also earn a lot of pressure right now to win and to get back to playing postseason baseball, which has not happened in a long, long time. So Taylor will have his thoughts on the Angels here, but back to my Dodgers here. I think the Dodgers, I still think they're going to win the division despite having the better resources out of anybody in the division. San Diego, they're going to challenge us. I think they're going to give the Dodgers their run for their money. I like what they did in the offseason, adding Bogaerts. Tatis coming back from his suspension is going to be big for the Padres. Machado signing that big extension. I think the Padres are invested to win now. I think I credit A.J. Preller for all of this. And if Callen were on here, I wouldn't be mean about it. I would just tell him, hey, Callen, I credit Preller, I credit Seidler for all of this. But does this mean the Padres are better than the Dodgers? Not necessarily. But the Padres lineup is so good with Bogaerts, Juan Soto, Jake Cronenworth, and then you have Carpenter and Cruz. But I also think that put both Cruz and Carpenter in the lineup. Cruz DHing, Carpenter at first. That way you don't have to platoon them at DH. That's what I did with in my MLB The Show league. The Giants, on the other hand, this is a team, guys, that is 50-50 still. I mean, they got some guys that are low-risk, high-reward guys like Michael Conforto. Let's see if I think Conforto is a reclamation project for the Giants. Wish the Dodgers got him, but you know what? Michael Conforto is going to add some length into the middle of that lineup for the Giants. They got Jock Peterson back. I knew it was coming. Jock Peterson is a guy that can just rake, hit homers, but just needs to learn how to hit lefties at a high rate. But the Giants have the offense is pretty good, but it's not like everybody's like, oh wow, this lineup is so deep. They got guys like Haniger, and they got guys like Peterson, and then a Dodger reunion with Alex Wood and Ross Stripling. The Giants are a team that is just middle of the pack, but they're not a team that's going to leapfrog the Dodgers or the Padres in the NL West. The Giants are just right there. Arizona, on the other hand, this is a team that kind of made some big splashes. Gabriel Morero, who the Diamondbacks needed to upgrade a catcher. I could see him getting the lion's share behind the plate, the lion's share of the playing time at catcher with Carson Kelly. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is a guy that I think is going to help with that lineup. Middle of the pack type of guy. Evan Longoria, He's not the player he once was, but he gives them the veteran presence that I think he needs for the Diamondbacks. Marte, I think, is still a great player. Corbin Carroll, he's going to be up there for the NL Rookie of the Year race, I think. He is that good. Great speed, great hitter, and all that. But the Dodgers, they always beat Arizona. They will still have their number, but the Rockies are going to be the Rockies. The Rockies are just stuck in last. That Chris Bryant deal could turn out to be a good or a bad contract. But last year, Chris Bryant just had injuries. But I think that if Chris Bryant stays healthy, the Rockies are going to need his bat to help that offense go. I mean, the Rockies, if you look at their offense, they play well at Coors Field when it comes to their hitting. But their pitching, aside from Freeland and Marquez and Senzatella, everybody else, 4-5, is just not good. So as for my Dodgers here, my players to watch out for this season, like I said, James Outman, he's a guy that is going to be vying to play every day in center field and also get some reps in right and left. Miguel Vargas, like I talked about, my Rookie of the Year pick, I'm still going to stick with that. And then you got to watch out for Dustin May in a fully healthy Dustin May, which I do think that he's going to have a monstrous season. I could go on and on and on with my Dodgers here, but I have one more thing to say about them before I give it to Isaiah when he talks about the Phillies and A's. I'm sure he's going to start with the Phillies first here. So Jason Hayward, I'm so happy that he is a Dodger. Freddie Freeman wanted him. He worked his tail off this spring, and I really think that he is going to provide veteran presence into the Dodgers. David Peralta is a guy that I really think is going to have a great year for us. And then I also think that our bullpen will still be good. I don't know who will be our closer, but Evan Phillips is a guy that I really think can be trusted in that role. I'm more excited about Daniel Hudson returning, getting Alex Reyes back healthy, Blake Trinan too, and then a healthy Walker Buehler. So that's kind of my final thoughts on my Dodgers here. But Isaiah, the floor is now yours about your Philadelphia Phillies. And I'll tell you, before I hand it over to you, big splashes this offseason for the Phillies. Trey Turner complimenting him with Harper and Schwarber and Castellanos. And then you got Gregory Soto, Craig Kimbrell, but I think Soto is going to be a more of a bit better asset to that bullpen. Taijuan Walker's a good back-end guy that the Phillies needed to add, but you know what? I think that Nola and Wheeler, those two are still the top anchors of the rotation for the Phillies. But Bryce Harper he's out with Tommy John surgery, but when he comes back, you're going to expect a stronger Bryce Harper. But the unfortunate part is Rhys Hoskins out for the year with a torn ACL. But you know what? Is the Phillies lineup still deep even without Hoskins? Absolutely, Isaiah. You can go ahead and say some stuff about what I said about the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, Hoskins' injury was unfortunate. I think he was primed to have a great year just because he was about to enter free agency. And I think that, Loro, you know this, Taylor, you know this as well, that when players enter free agency or when they're about to enter free agency, they always have this monstrous year just to get that big contract. You know, we see it with a lot of these players, whether it's in baseball, whether it's in football, basketball, hockey, you name it. Like, we just see it everywhere. So I think Hoskins was primed, especially with that deep lineup. Hoskins was primed to have a big year. So it's very unfortunate that he tore his ACL and he is unfortunately out for the year. But when you look at the Phillies, I think that the Phillies, losing Hoskins is a big blow, but I think they'll still be fine. I don't know if they'll be able to win that division because the NL East is a gauntlet. You know, the NL East is a grind, and it's a division where it's like the NFC West in a couple of years back, where you had the Rams, the Niners, the Seahawks, the Cardinals all fighting at each other for that division. It's like that division. It's just a really tough division to compete in. And when you look at the Phillies right now, I think that, if I had to give a prediction for the record, I'm gonna go with Philadelphia goes. You know, I think Philadelphia ends up winning 90. I think Philadelphia ends up with 90 wins. I think they end up taking a little bit of a step back from, that team that went to the World Series last year and won the NL. But I still think that this team is very talented enough, even without Rhys Hoskins, to be able to pull off 89 to 90 wins. You look at what the Phillies lacked last year. They lacked starting pitching depth, and they lacked bullpen. And when you look at what they did in the offseason, they added Taijuan Walker, who's a quality starting pitcher. He's going to give you at least 27 to 30 starts a season. He's going to give you like a 3.12 or 3.21 ERA, somewhere in that range. He's going to give you that. And then they went out, they already have Nola, they got Wheeler, they have Walker, who's going to be either the third or the fourth, and then you have Ranger Suarez, who is one of the most underrated starting pitchers in all of baseball. I mean, this guy you saw last year when he came out of the bullpen. I mean, he has some electric stuff, and I think he's a guy to look out for if you're watching the Phillies this season. And then Bailey Falter's one guy that, the fifth spot of the rotation for the Phillies is kind of a mess, because right now you have Falter, who's going to be the projected fifth starter. But when you look at how Falter is, he's inconsistent. So it could be either Falter starting sometimes, or it could be a bullpen game for the Phillies. So the starting pitching got better. The bullpen got better. Sir Anthony Dominguez, you have him. You already had Alvarado, who reinvented himself last season. He was tremendous down the stretch. You added Craig Kimbrell, who I think that, with Caleb Cottom being his pitching coach, I think will really help. But then it's not just that you added Kimbrell, but you added Gregory Soto. You added guys like Matt Strahm. You added a lot of great relievers to the back end of that bullpen, which will really help the Phillies bullpen, which was a big weakness last season, become a strength. And then, to offset the loss of Hoskins, you added a guy who I've been clamoring for many years, and that is Trey Turner. I am so glad that the Philadelphia Phillies got Trey Turner, because he's the shortstop that I've been wanting the Phillies to get, and a player the Phillies to get for many, many years. He's a guy that, doesn't strike out a whole lot. He hits the ball to all parts of the field. He's a guy that's extremely fast. He steals a bunch of bases. He's like a perfect guy to be at the top of the order with Kyle Schwarber. You could put him at one, or you could put Schwarber at one, and then Turner at two, or you could put Turner at one, and then you could put Schwarber at two. That way, Schwarber's home runs aren't, solo home runs, but they're instead 2-run homers, and it's more production. But it not only does it lengthen the lineup for the Phillies, but it gives them a much better defender at shortstop. It improves their defense. It improves their offense. It was one of the best signings of the offseason. And I think that when you look at this team, you look at what they have right now. You look at Real Muto at catcher. You have Derek Hall, who last year in his short stint in the majors, he cranked 10 home runs, and he was very, very impressive. You have Bryson Stott, who came on strong down the stretch at second. You have Trey Turner. We know what he could do at shortstop. You have Alec Bohm, who came on strong and was tremendous for the Phillies last season at third base. And then in the outfield, Schwarber, 46 home runs. Then you have Brandon Marsh. That guy, he's like a bottom of the order type of a hitter, but he's a guy that can get on base. He's a guy that can butt guys over. He's a guy that, I think with the shift being eliminated, I think that that's something that will really benefit Brandon Marsh. And then in right field, you have Castellanos, who I'm expecting now with Hoskins out. I think Castellanos has to have a monstrous season, because you're in. Okay, the first year wasn't great, but we'll let you off the hook for that, because it was your first time acclimating to a new team. But now you're in your second year, and you have a big hole to help fill with Hoskins being out. You have no excuses whatsoever. So Nick Castellanos absolutely needs to live up to that monstrous contract the Phillies gave him. I think he's going to have a big year. He was primed to hit at Citizens Bank Park. So I think with all this being said, it's not just the Phillies are losing players, but remember the Mets lost Edwin Diaz, which that's why we're playing his song as our intro and outro song this year, just to honor him. But they lost him. They lost a bunch of players. They got Verlander, but they lost a lot of depth. We don't know how Kodai Senga is going to be. The Braves, I think they're right now the front runners.
Well, you also have to you forgot to mention here, Brandon Nemo's going to be out for a couple weeks.
Exactly. Brandon Nimmo's going to be out for a couple of weeks. That's a big blow to them. Also, the Braves, they're not really dealing with much injuries right now, but so the Braves are probably considered the favorites. And then you have the Nationals and the Marlins who are going to be garbage this season, even though.
Well, I think before you go on here, I think Miami's going to be better than Washington.
Oh, yeah. Miami will definitely be better than Washington.
They have a better roster than Washington because Washington's roster is young and Strasburg's not coming back anytime soon. No. Corbin is just garbage.
Yeah, and sadly, I think Corbin might need to retire at this point. But you talk about the Marlins, they're a team that I think is on the come up. They're a team that has great pitching. All they needed was offense, and they went out and got the guy from the Twins who I'm blanking on right now.
Oh, talking about Luis Arraez, and then they got your boy Gene Segura.
Yes, they got Luis Arraez and Gene Segura. Those two are hitters that a lot of people don't really know about, or in Segura and Arraez's case, what they do well is they put the ball in play. And I think that's what Miami needed because they had a lot of guys striking out last season. So I think that division, I think the Phillies could still win the division. It just depends on how Harper comes back when he comes back from that injury, whether it's in June or whether it's in July. But I think the Phillies could stay afloat while he's out. But in terms of some players that that the fans who are not familiar with the Phillies should watch out for. I'm not going to name the stars because I think a lot of people are very familiar with all the stars that the Phillies have. But the couple players that the fans should watch out for. Gregory Soto. This guy has been one of the most dynamic relievers in all of baseball the last couple of seasons. And he was a guy that a lot of people wanted to trade for. And the Phillies got him to anchor that bullpen. I think he's going to be dynamic with Jose Alvarado and Craig Kimbrell in the fold. Watch out for him. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. And then the other player that the Phillies the fans should watch out for is Alec Bohm. That guy had a bounce back season last year. He played great defense at third base, much improved defense, and he looked like a much improved player. And I think he's going to continue to get better and better and better. And I could see that this guy could be an all-star, whether it's this season or whether it's next season for the Philadelphia Phillies. And then in terms of strengths and weaknesses for the Phillies, I'll probably say that the weakness on this team will probably be the starting pitching, just because the back end is not that good. You have Nola, you have Wheeler, you have Walker, but then Suarez is hurt. Falter, I don't really trust him. They need to figure out that back end of that bullpen. In terms of the strengths, got to be the lineup. And I think for the first time in like 4 or 5 years, I could finally say this, but Taylor and Loro, one of the biggest strengths for the Phillies this season is the bullpen. I mean, their bullpen is much improved with, Alvarado, Dominguez, Kimbrel, Velotti in the mix. You have Soto as well. I mean, Strahm too. Like, this is going to be a super, super deep bullpen. So that's my report on the Phillies. And now to the team that I really don't want to talk about, and that is the Oakland A's, who are playing Taylor's Angels on opening day tomorrow. When you look at the A's, they traded away Sean Murphy. Ramon Laureano's gone. They traded away Matt Chapman last year. Matt Olson got traded last year as well. Cole Irvin got traded, underrated starting pitcher.
Actually, Ramon Laureano's still there.
Yeah. Oh, Ramon. Yeah, my bad. Ramon Laureano is still there, but
he probably will be a trade deadline candidate.
Right. But so for the A's, I've watched one spring training game all spring long for the Oakland A's, and that was last week's game against the San Francisco Giants. And Taylor, you, Loro, you guys both know that the last 2-3 spring training games are like when the players actually go hard. You know, like that's like the final tune-up before the season starts. So what I noticed and analyzed from that game, I know it's one game and I know it's only spring training, but I think the A's could be a better team than a lot of people are thinking that they could be. I think the A's could win like 75 games this season because the hitting got so much better. I mean, I can't believe how much better their hitting got. Like last year, their lineup was filled of minor leaguers and guys that you never heard of. And that's why they were so overmatched at the plate, because they didn't belong in the minor leagues or they weren't ready to be in the major leagues. But this year, you look at their lineup from top to bottom. You have Seth Brown, major league hitter, Tony Kemp, major league hitter, Jace Peterson at third base, major league hitter. You look at you have Jesus Aguilar, first baseman / DH, major league power hitter. Aledmus Diaz, major league hitter. Ramon Laureano, major league hitter. You have a lot of these guys that are going to put up major league at bats and give you production in your lineup. So I think the A's are actually be able to surprise a lot of people when it comes to their hitting. However, their pitching is going to be a main concern because they lost Irvin. Waldichuk was up and down. JP Sears was starting out really good, then he tailed off. We'll see how he does this season. James Kaprielian always gets hurt. Drew Rosinski coming from Korea. I don't know how he's going to be. Hasn't pitched in the majors in like so many years. But the guy that I'm very fascinated by for the A's is Shintaro Fujinami, the right-hander out of Japan. This guy, when Ohtani was coming out of high school, it was Shintaro Fujinami and it was Shohei Ohtani as the two top Japanese high school baseball players at that time. Fujinami, unfortunately, he did very well his first 5 seasons, but then he tailed off because he pitched a whole bunch of games, and I think he hurt his elbow in one of the games, even though he didn't have to have surgery, but it really affected him. But now he goes to the major leagues, and from what I've seen in spring training, his stuff is dynamic. I mean, this dude can throw from 97 to 102 with his fastball. He's got a dynamic splitter, dynamic slider. His curveball is so wild that, hitters, when they swing at it, I mean, they look absolutely foolish and clueless for swinging at it. I think he could be a dynamic starting pitcher for the A's, and it just depends if he can keep his walks down. If he can do that, this guy's going to be absolutely dynamic for the A's. And then when it comes to their bullpen, Trevor May, I guess, is the closer right now, although Mark Kotsay did say that it's going to be Familia and Trevor May being the closer by committee. So we'll see what happens. But I think the A's, they've got firepower in that bullpen with Familia and also Trevor May. Familia is throwing the ball great in the spring. Danny Jimenez, I don't really trust him because this is a guy that, when his slider's not really that good, all he just does is, he can't locate his fastball, and guess what? You have hitters that just wait on his slider, he hangs it, and then all of a sudden it's a home run. So I think for the A's, their bullpen and the starting pitching is going to be an issue for the Oakland A's. But I think the lineup is going to be very solid for the A's. And as far as some strengths and weaknesses, I think I laid it out. The lineup is going to be a strength, but the starting pitching is going to be a major weakness, and the bullpen as well. As far as players to watch out for, before I hand it back to Loro to give the floor to Taylor, is players to watch out for. Shintaro Fujinami. Like I said, this guy was one of the most highly touted players in Japan about a couple of years ago. He's got the stuff. He just needs to figure out the control, and then he will be good. He'll be dynamic for the A's. Other players, Nick Allen. This guy's got a tremendous glove. If he can figure out the bat, and he's going to have a full season to do it, I think he's going to be a dynamic, electric player in baseball. And then the last one, Jesus Aguilar. This guy's one of the most underrated power hitters in all of baseball. And with him being the primary first baseman slash DH, him being the primary cleanup hitter for the A's, he's going to have a lot of great pitches to hit. And I won't be shocked if he ends up with 30 plus home runs.
I mean, I'll go to Taylor next year. So Taylor, what is your what is the Angels team strength and weaknesses, players to watch out for this season?
Well, Lauro and Isaiah, I wouldn't be surprised if they have another losing record, but I think I say it's probably going to be hovering around 500. Like I'll say, I think they're going to have a couple more wins. I'll say like 83 and 81. I'll say they'll finish. But I wouldn't be surprised if they have another losing record. But at the same time, their strengths and weaknesses. Looking at their roster, the pitching, most namely the bullpen, has pretty much been their Achilles heel over the past few seasons. But they did kind of strengthen that because last year they signed Aaron Loop, and now you also have some good starting pitchers in addition to Ohtani. You mentioned they acquired Tyler Anderson from your Dodgers, and also getting some other young relievers, like for example Jaime Barria, Tucker Davidson should be getting a little better. But also on that note, you also have some pitchers on the 40-man roster who are on the injured list, like Chris Rodriguez, for instance. He's on the 15-day IL. Jose Marte on the 60-day IL. Griffin Canning on the 15-day IL. And the injury bug has struck again, and it's not just the pitching, but some position players have also started on the injured list, like Max Stassi and Jared Walsh. They're on the 10-day IL. And as if we've dealt with enough injuries already, that's also a problem the Angels have. They need to stay healthy. And but as far as players to watch out for, I say first you'll want to keep an eye on Anthony Rendon, because he's already had 2 bad seasons, and primarily because they were plagued by injuries, and he still has a few games on that suspension he has to serve. But when he comes back from the suspension, I think he's probably going to be crushing that baseball and playing pretty much playing a great all-around game, because he probably needs to. It's probably about time that he shows what he's worth, because when they signed him to that 10-year contract after the 2019 season, he pretty much got off to a slow start. But now I think it's time to show him what he's made of. Other players to watch out for, I say keep an eye on 2 of the newest acquisitions, like Brandon Drury, who really turned up the heat with the Padres last year, especially like late down the stretch and into the postseason. Brandon Drury is definitely, he turned that short stint with the Padres into a contract with the Angels, and hopefully he picks up where he left off. Also, Gio Urshela, who has been a thorn in the side of the Angels when he played against them. He's on our side now. Hopefully, he does what he did against us for us. And then also some other players to keep an eye on. David Fletcher, he has he's been up and down, especially since last year was kind of injury plagued. Well, I say this year he comes back in a big way. And then you also want to watch out for Luis Rengifo. He's been up and down, but I think he's going to be consistent this year. And then if you look at the outfield, Hunter Renfroe, a former Padre and former Tampa Bay Ray, well, he's up the road from San Diego and Anaheim now, and I think it's like they say, Fro knows, because I think he's probably going to be splitting time though with Mike Trout in center field. But he could probably he could be an everyday player, but I think he's probably going to spend some time on the bench, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I think Renfroe is definitely going to make a big impact, as will Jake Lamb, whose contract they just selected with a lot of players going on the injured list. If Loro, you probably remember Jake Lamb as a Dodger, don't you?
Oh yeah, he's a good hitter.
Well, I have a feeling Jake Lamb is probably he's another one of those depth players. So I think he's definitely going to make an impact for the Angels too. So, and then of course, with Max Stassi on the injured list, the two active catchers right now, we have our Logan O'Hoppe and Matt Thaiss. O'Hoppe, I think, was probably he had a great spring. Well, I don't know if it was great or not, but he played, but he was good enough to make the team at least. I think he's definitely going to want to, I'll say he's going to step up. He and Thaiss are going to step up their games while Stassi's on the injured list. But I think it's got to be a total team effort. So anyway, that's what I think about the Angels. So I think they've already been, through the rebuilding stage for the past 4 years, and hopefully this is their first postseason appearance in about a decade. So we'll see about that.
We'll have to see about that. But anyways, here now we're going to talk about our playoff prediction segments. So we kind of predicted, guys, who's going to win each division. But Isaiah and I talked about it, and we both said that we better do this again just so that the audience knows who we have winning each division. But we'll start with the American League first. I'll start with the American League East. My pick to win that division, I said it before spring training, I'm sticking to that, is the New York Yankees. And I think that this is a team that is still good despite dealing with injuries. But when they get Rodon and Savvy back, I do think that this will give them a boost. Isaiah, I'll go to you. Who do you pick to win the AL East?
Well, so the reason why we're doing our predictions again is because a lot of things probably have changed with spring training since we did it before spring training, and now spring training is over and a lot of stuff have changed. So for me, I think before I picked the Orioles, or I forgot who I picked, but in terms of the AL East, for me, I'm actually going to go – you know what? I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that the Toronto Blue Jays, they've got great pitching with Alex Manoah, Kevin Gausman there, Jose Barrios. They added Chris Bassett. You don't have to rely much on Yusei Kikuchi. The rotation is electric. And then you look at their lineup with Vladdy Jr., Whit Merrifield, Bo Bichette, my guy Matt Chapman, whom I was so sad to see him getting traded to Toronto, but it is what it is. And then you have Kevin Kiermaier, George Springer, Alejandro Kirk. I mean, their lineup is loaded. The rotation is loaded. Their bullpen, which is led by Jordan Romano, their closer, he had a 2.13 ERA, has 59 saves in the last 2 seasons. He's going to be the guy anchoring that bullpen, but I'm kind of worried about the back end of that bullpen next to Romano. You have Swanson, who's unproven. He had a career best 1.68 ERA last year with the Mariners, but he had one great year, but that's it. Yimi Garcia has been up and down, and Anthony Bass has been, inconsistent as well. So their bullpen kind of worries me, but I think with their lineup and their starting pitching, I think it will be able to help alleviate the concerns of that bullpen and help them win that division. And I think when you look at that division, I got the Yankees being in second. The Rodon injury is very huge for them. And also for New York, Montas is going to be most likely out for the year. Trevino is dealing with an elbow injury. So there's a lot of big injuries going on there. I think the Yankees start slow. Don't be shocked if there is rumors that Aaron Boone might be fired midseason, because if the Yankees start slow with all the money that they spent, someone's going to have to pay if they do start slow. And then I think it's going to be the Rays, and then or it's gonna be the Rays or the Orioles. Orioles, Rays being third and fourth, and then it's gonna be unfortunately Boston being in last place because they lost a lot of players and didn't get much back in return. So I got the Blue Jays winning the AL East.
Yeah, for me, I have in second place the Toronto Blue Jays, and then in third place, I have the Tampa Bay Rays, and then in fourth place, the Baltimore Orioles, and then the Boston Red Sox in last, like you, Isaiah. But Taylor, who wins the AL East?
Well, I kind of got to defy the odds here on the note of the Boston Red Sox finishing last. I'm going to defy the odds here, and I'm going to put them in first because you forgot they have a lot of well, they did lose a lot of players, but they also have some good players in advance. Like, for example, picking up Justin Turner from your Dodgers. Yeah, they picked up Justin Turner, for instance, and then they also go out and get well, Justin Turner's been the big name out of that, but at the same time, looking at the Red Sox, because obviously one player can't do it all by himself, but I'm looking at their roster right now. Yoshida, the star from Japan, I think you're probably going to want to. He's probably going to make some kind of impact too, because I think he play. I don't know if he played for Team Japan or not, but Yoshida, I think it's because he won the World Baseball Classic. He could probably make an impact. Kike Hernandez, another one of your former Dodgers, Loro, I think can also step up his game, as can Rafael Devers, and who else can we look at? All your former Dodgers, Justin, Turner, Kike, who else? Oh, I forgot to mention Alex Verdugo, another one of your former Dodgers, in the outfield. He can really he can turn on his game when he wants to, but hopefully he's consistent. And then also a former San Francisco Giant to look who has caught my attention over the years, Adam Duvall. When I saw him grow his game in the Giants organization, and I think he's now developed into one of the league's premier outfielders. So, but as far as the other players, I noticed another one-star player they have in Trevor Story. He's on the 60-day IL. So that's probably going to be a big blow. It obviously is a big blow for the Red Sox, but at the same time, I think you got to watch out for the secret weapons, as I like to call them. The depth players, because if the top names like Turner and Verdugo and Duvall and Hernandez and Devers, if they start to falter, then watch out for the secret weapons. So all I can say is I just got to defy the odds here.
Anyways, here now we move on to the American League Central. So I'm sticking with my pick, and I'm picking the Cleveland Guardians to win that division. It doesn't really matter if they're in rebuilding or not. This team can play, and they're well-managed team, and you build this team around Jose Ramirez, you're going to get big things from Cleveland. I mean, Chicago's going to be up there. They're going to start to be good. I think we'll see if Pedro Grifol's the right man for that job. And then I think the Twins will be up there too. But I just picked Cleveland just because I think they're a well-oriented team than like Minnesota, then Detroit, then Kansas City. That's why I'm going with Cleveland to win the division. What about you, Isaiah?
I got a shocker for y'all. Y'all ready for this?
Yes.
Last year I picked Detroit. I'm not making that mistake again. This year, the team that I'm picking to win the American League Central, I'm picking the Kansas City Royals. I think the Kansas City Royals will, with their young talent, will stun the world and win that division. Because remember, that division is not that strong, right? You have Minnesota's got a lot of question marks, even though they got Correa back. They have Buxton. They have they have Joey Gallo there as well, Jorge Polanco too. But they do have a lot of questions, especially when it comes to the starting pitching staff and also the bullpen. I know Jorge Lopez from the Orioles is their closer now, but there's a lot of questions there. Detroit, we don't know what they're going to do. It's Miggy Cabrera's last year. Their pitching's not that great. Their lineup is still, young. The White Sox, after last year, they have a lot of chemistry concerns. And then you look at Cleveland. My biggest issue with Cleveland is that my biggest issue or concern with them is that I'm concerned that it was a one-year hit wonder. That's it. And when you look at Cleveland, the loss of Tristan McKenzie, who's going to be out at least 2 months to start the season, that's going to be a big blow. And I think when you look at Cleveland, that's a big blow to their starting pitching. But a lot of their guys last year had career years, and I think that they're going to come back down to earth and be what they were before last season. So that's why I don't think it's that far-fetched that Kansas City could win this division. I like what Kansas City is doing. I like their new manager, Matt Quatraro. He's a great communicator. But you look at their lineup from top to bottom. Salvador Perez is the guy in the middle. Bobby Witt Jr., I think, could be a future MVP in this league. You have Michael A. Taylor, who's a tremendous player. Nicky Lopez, second baseman. He's a great young hitter as well. But the rotation is the one that, has me intrigued. Brady Singer, he's got great stuff. He was one of their top prospects. I think he's going to have a great year. Daniel Lynch, Ryan Yarbrough, Brad Keller. They've got a lot of young pitching, and I think that this is the year that they finally take a step up and put it all together and live up to their potential. The only problem, though, is their bullpen, because right now their closer is, I think, Aroldis Chapman, and then you have Scott Barlow as their setup man, and then Amir Garrett as another setup man. That's a big concern. If Chapman can go back to what he was 2 years ago, then that would be fantastic. But I think I got Kansas City. I think Bobby Witt Jr., mark my words right now, Bobby Witt Jr. will be an all-star. I'm very high on this kid. I think that he's going to be one of the best players in baseball for the next 10, 15 years. And as far as the rest of that division goes, I got Kansas City at number 1. I'm going to go with Chicago at number 2. I got Cleveland at 3, Detroit at 4, or Minnesota at 4, and sadly, my pick from last year, Detroit at number 5. But give me the Royals to win that division.
Why do you say that? I mean, Isaiah said that here, but Taylor, who do you like to win the American League Central?
Well, I probably gotta agree with Isaiah on the Royals because Bobby Witt Jr. And of course I remember seeing his I have a friend of mine who collects baseball cards. Well, not just baseball cards, but all sports cards. But Bobby Witt Jr.'s card last year, the value of it was through the roof. So I think he's probably going to be an all-star this year, and he's definitely going to make some noise again this year, like he did last year in his rookie season. So, and then of course, not to mention and then of course with tomorrow on opening day, Zach Greinke is back, and I think he's really going to shut down the opposition. And then of course another key acquisition pitcher you forgot to mention, Isaiah, is Ryan Yarbrough. He's definitely going to he's a good pitcher because I've seen him shut down my Angels too when he was with the Rays. So I think he's probably going to gonna throw a lot of fireballs there. And then in addition to Bobby Witt Jr. on the infield, you also have Hunter Dozier who can be a game changer, as can Nicky Lopez, Edward Olivares. I haven't seen too much of him, but I think he But as I mentioned before, the secret weapons. You have it's a you got every team, and I think this is true not just in baseball, but I know it's true in hockey and definitely all other sports. You can't rely on your stars because if they have off nights, then who else can step up? That's why there's depth, and obviously you always can't rely on your top stars. And everyone has to step up. And if everyone steps up on the Royals, then they'll probably win another AL Central.
Anyways, James Gonzalez says, I don't see Kansas City, Isaiah, but strange things happen. I'll give Isaiah $50 if KC wins the Central here. So, anyways, now we will talk about the American League West. I think everybody is probably going to pick the Houston Astros to win the division. Sadly, I'll pick the Houston Astros. I think that the Houston Astros are the team to beat in that division. I think that this team, they are coming off a World Series victory, and this team, I think, is hungry for more. And Isaiah, who do you like to win in that AL West?
I'm going with the opposite. I'm going Texas. Give me the Texas Rangers. I love what they did this offseason. I think Bruce Bochy is going to bring a winning championship culture to the Texas Rangers. And when you look at that's Rangers ball club. We know they have the offensive firepower with Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Nathaniel Lowe as well. But their biggest issue last year was their starting pitching was god-awful. I mean, their best pitchers were Taylor Hearn, it was Dane Dunning, it was Kobe Allard. Now you look at the rotation. Jacob deGrom, Martin Perez, you have John Gray as well. You have Nathan Eovaldi, Andrew Heaney, Dane Dunning too, Taylor Hearn. I mean, they have depth. They got star power. They got quality pitchers in their starting rotation. They completely remade and beefed up their rotation. And then you look at, to add to that offense with Texas, and that's what they needed. They needed great starting pitching, and also they needed a manager who could instill discipline and bring a championship culture, and they got both of them with deGrom, Heaney, Eovaldi, and all the good arms that they got, and also with Bruce Bochy being the manager. I think that's what Texas lacked. Remember, Texas lost a lot of one-run games. I think they were, if my memory serves me right, I think Texas's record of one-run games was like 8-21 or whatever. It was something pathetic like that. If they had won even half of those one-run games that they lost, the Texas Rangers could have made the wild card last year. And I think with a brand new manager in Bruce Bochy, a championship manager in Bruce Bochy, I think that you'll see a Rangers team be more focused and be a better ball club and not make stupid mistakes like they did last season. And I think that, with Houston losing Verlander, I know they still have the pitching with Valdez, with McCullers, and all the guys that they have, but it's just not the same without Verlander and Garrett Cole in that rotation. So I think that rotation will take a step back. I think that their lineup is still going to be dangerous, but the biggest loss for Houston is Altuve missing the first 2 months of the season. That's a big blow, and I could see Texas getting off to a fast start and not letting Houston reclaim the division after their fast start, and that's what I see happening. So I got the Rangers at first, the Astros being second. I got to go with the Mariners at third, even though I kind of don't want to. I got the A's and the Angels battling for fourth and fifth.
What about you, Taylor? Who wins the AL West?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the Astros win again, because they've been a juggernaut. The same thing with same thing with the Rangers. I mean, both the Texas clubs have been juggernauts this past year. But like I said, I got to defy the odds. I'm going to go with my Angels, of course, because while of course, the injury bug has struck again, as I mentioned previously, with Max Stassi, Jared Walsh, a bunch of pitchers, and of course Anthony Rendon still serving a few more games on that suspension he got last year. But I think finally I think it's about time they awake the sleeping giant, so to speak, out of the Angels, because with I mean, Phil Nevin, when he stepped in to replace Joe Madden last year, they didn't do much better, but that's because he came in the middle. Maybe a full season will probably do him some good, and hopefully the whole club buys into his strategies and all that. And not to mention when Rendon comes back from his suspension, I think he's going to be crushing that. He's going to be mashing. Same thing with Hunter Renfroe and Gio Urshela and all those new acquisitions, and of course the pitching in the bullpen. Aaron Loop, hopefully he does better. Same thing with Ryan Tepera if he steps up his game, because the bullpen, like I said before, it's been trouble for the Angels over the year, and then of course the starting pitching, of course, has been it's been okay, but the bullpen in particular has not been so good. But in any event, I just gotta defy the odds. The Angels, while not the powerhouse they were before, maybe this year they'll probably return to that status.
All right, now we're going to go on and talk about our wild card teams for each league here now. That way we can kind of speed things up a bit here. So, my 3 wild card teams in the American League are the Blue Jays, the Rangers, and the Mariners. And in the National League, the Braves, the Phillies, and the Padres. Isaiah, who are your wild card teams in both the AL and NL?
Oh, this is tough. So my 3 wild card teams in the American League, I'm going to go with the New York Yankees. The Yankees are a juggernaut with Judge in that lineup. And then you have Garrett Cole and Rodon in the starting pitching staff. So they're one of my wild cards. Second wild card, Houston Astros. Got to go with them, even though I think they'll take a step back, but they're still loaded as well. And then my third wild card, I'm going to, my third wild card, I'm going to go with it. My third wild card, give me the Tampa Bay Rays. I like their starting pitching. They're always in it, no matter whoever they lose, no matter whichever signings that they don't make and other teams take their players. But they do have Glass now. They have Brandon Lau. They have Wander Franco, who's an absolute superstar. And then also they have Zach Eflin, who they could use in the rotation and also their bullpen. I think he's going to be solid down there in Tampa Bay. So give me the Rays.
And what about you in the National League, Isaiah?
National League, wow, I'm going to go with the Phillies because I think they're talented enough even without Hoskins to make the playoffs. I'm going to go with the New York Mets. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Mets, and then I got to go with San Francisco.
All right, now we will go to Taylor. Who's your 3 wild card teams in the American League? Who's your 3 wild card teams in the National League?
So for the American League, I'll probably have to say the first wild card. I would probably go with I'll say Seattle to start with them, because they're really looking to build on a strong season and making the playoffs the first time in a long time last year, and they look to do it again. Second wild card, I'll say I think I'll have to go with the I'll probably go with the Yankees, or no, not the Yankees, the Rays, because they've got all those good players acquired, like Isaiah mentioned. And then the third wild card, Isaiah, I'm gonna go with your A's because I mean, and of course my friend who also lives here in Anaheim, who's also an A's fan, and he collects cards. But I'm gonna say, I think the money ball effect that they had, because as you saw, they traded away Chapman, they traded away Olsen, but they still have some other secret weapons too, like for example Seth Brown. He's definitely a slugger in the making for the A's, and of course you still have Ramon Laureano, and I have a feeling James Caprillion is probably going to stay healthy, so I wouldn't count the A's out. But I have a feeling if the Angels meet the A's in the postseason, then we're definitely going to be in for something. As far as the National League is concerned, I am going to say the first wild card team will be. I'm going to start with Arizona, because they've been borderline for the past several seasons ever since 2013, or well, yeah, they've been borderline for the past several seasons, but I'll say this is finally the year they get in now that the postseason has been expanded. Second, I'm gonna have to go with. I will probably go with the. I think the Miami Marlins look good too, because not only with all the guys that you mentioned previously, Lauro, but you also forgot to mention Jazz Chisholm. He can change a game when he wants to also, and if he does that a lot, then it probably won't be enough. But I think Jazz Chisholm can definitely get the Marlins at least a wild card. And then my last wild card, I'll probably have to say the Giants, because maybe Giants, or I'll make it a toss-up rather between them and the Pittsburgh Pirates, because of, as you mentioned backstage, Loro, O'Neal Cruz. He can probably change a game, just like Jazz Chisholm, as I mentioned before, for the Marlins. O'Neal Cruz can be a game changer as well. But I think, you know what, I'm going to go with the Pirates instead of the Giants, because I just think the Pirates obviously have a little bit more talent than the Giants do, and not to mention, remember those 3 even years, when the Giants won the World Series in 2010, 2012, and 2014. Well, this is an odd year, so I think a postseason appearance and possibly even a World Series championship for the Giants will have to wait till next year.
All right. Now, folks, with that being said, now we talk about our NL division winners here. I'll start with the NL West. I'm going to pick the Dodgers. I mean, this is a team that's always in it to win it each year. What about you, Isaiah? Isaiah, you there?
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Tell us who you like in the NL West.
In the NL West, I'm gonna go with the Dodgers. I think that, when you look at this division, I'm kind of worried about San Diego, because even though I just said that San Diego could give the Dodgers a run for their money, what worries me is Fernando Tatis is a ticking time bomb. This is a guy that, he's going to find something, and, it just, something's going to end up happening and be bad, and it's going to blow up the season. Last year it was the steroids. The year before, remember him and Machado had that blow up in the dugout? That guy's a ticking time bomb. Something's going to happen. He's kind of like Kyrie Irving in a way, where something's bad is just right around the corner. And I think with all the personalities in the clubhouse, you have Machado, you have Soto, you have all the guys at Bogarts as well, a lot of star talent. There's going to be, they need time to mesh when it comes to their chemistry. So I think the Padres, this is going to be, I think, the year where the Padres just take a step back and, falter a little bit. So I got the Dodgers. The Dodgers, very talented, a lot of depth. Mookie's there. You got Freddie Freeman. You got in the rotation. Dustin May's back. Kershaw, I know he's not what he once was, but still, he's still a good pitcher. And then you got Urias as well there. And I really like this kid Outman. I watched him play, and he's going to be a good player in this league. And then when you look at the other teams in that division, I think it's actually going to be Dodgers, and I think it's going to be Giants in second. I think that Arizona will finish better than San Diego. I like what Arizona's doing with Corbin Carroll and all the young talent that they have there. But I just think for the Padres, it's going to be a year where they have to mesh. And I think it's one of those years where they're going to take a step back. They're going to struggle because you need to have time to ingratiate all the talent that you have and get these personalities under control. And I don't think it's going to be this year. And then Colorado is going to be, last place. And I don't know why Chris Bryant chose, for the love of God, to go to Colorado. It makes no sense whatsoever.
And then you talk about NL East and NL Central. Who wins those divisions?
NL East, NL East, I'm actually going to go, and, it's going to pain me to say this, but the New York Mets. I think that the Mets are going to come in there. They got the talent. Starling Marte, one of the most underrated outfielders in baseball. They have a team, with Verlander, Scherzer, Senga, who was kind of a bit of a question mark, but still, he's got the stuff from 1 through 5. They've got an electric rotation there in New York. The lineup is stacked with Lindor, with Lindor there. They have what's it called? They have Lindor. They have a lot of great players in that lineup, and then the bullpen. I know losing Diaz is going to hurt, but watch out. The Mets bullpen is the biggest concern for me, just because Diaz was a shutdown, lockdown closer. Now it's guys like David Robertson. It's other guys that, have been inconsistent, or they have been known to flare up and blow saves in the past. So that's the big concern for me for the Mets, is the bullpen. But I think they have enough of talent when it comes to their starting pitching staff and their lineup to be able to weather the storm. And then as far as who's going to win the National League Central Division, you know what? I'm going to go with it. I think because you always see every year there's this one team that just comes out of nowhere and wins it, and we're like, wow, how did they come in there and win this division? I never saw it coming. And that is, I think the Chicago Cubs are going to win the NL Central. I think that they have a lot of young talent there in Chicago. David Ross is doing a great job there managing that baseball team. Jed Hoyer's doing a fantastic job putting that team together. You look at their top to bottom, their lineup. Eric Hosmer, he's a guy that is going to bring a professional at bat every time he comes to the plate. Nico Horner, who they just signed to a mega extension. He's a dynamic player. Stansby Swanson had a great year last year. Christopher Morel, Ian Happ, Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, Tucker Barnhart. They can hit. They got guys that can flat out rake on this team. And then you look at the rotation. Marcus Stroman, Jameson Taillon, Drew Smiley, Kyle Hendricks. I mean, that rotation is pretty solid. And then the bullpen is the one that's going to kind of worry me, because your best pitcher is Brad Boxberger, and unfortunately you can't have Brad Boxberger being your closer for you to have great success and for me to be confident in your bullpen. But I'm going to go with the Cubs. I think the Cubs, they have a lot of great talent there. I think Bellinger is going to reinvent his career, and he's going to go back to the superstar that he was back in couple years ago. I think Dansby's going to maintain great play. Nico Horner is going to maintain his great play. Give me the Cubs. I think the Cubs win the NL Central.
All right. So anyways, for me, I'm picking the Cardinals to win the NL Central, and I'm picking the New York Mets to win the NL East. So Taylor, tell us who you got winning the NL West, NL East, and NL Central.
Okay, NL West. No surprise if the Dodgers do win it, but I'm defying the odds again. Like Isaiah said, the Padres, with Fernando Tatis kind of, being so-called locker room cancer, clubhouse cancer, I don't know, but I'm going to defy the odds here because, and not to mention with the Dodgers, I think they're kind of like the Yankees in some ways, or on the note of staying in LA, they're kind of like the Lakers in some ways too. They always go out, get too much star power, and what happens in the end, it blows up in their face. And because, and of course, on the same note of the Lakers, they got off to that horrendous start, yet they're already in the NBA play-in position. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers end up going the same route as the Lakers. They have a horrendous start, but then all the pieces of the puzzle come together, and they eventually, I mean, if they do make the postseason, I say they're going to be a wild card at least, while the Padres take the division. But in any event, I think the Padres are definitely going to they're going to win the division for a change, because I think they're probably going to mesh together, like Isaiah said, they have to, with Tatis and Manny Machado and all those guys. I think it's going to happen. I'm pretty optimistic for that. As far as the NL East is concerned, I definitely have the Mets. I'm going to agree with you on that, Loro. The Mets are probably going to take the NL East because all the pitching they have with Scherzer and Verlander, and then of course they're stacked with pitching, and not to mention all the slugging star power they have in like Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. It's definitely I definitely see that happening. And then I gotta agree on the fact that the Cardinals are going to win the NL Central as well, because they're defending it. And opening day, they seem to have a great a veteran pitcher in Miles Mikolas. He's going to get the start on opening day against Toronto. Adam Wainwright's still there. I think he's still got some game left in him. They go out and acquire Wilson Contreras for behind the plate for their catcher. Of course, Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, I think they're going to keep getting better. And then Tommy Edman, another guy who can be a game changer, as well as Lars Nootbaar, who just won the World Baseball Classic with Japan. And then Tyler O'Neill, definitely want to keep an eye on him, because I think he's another secret weapon, as is one of their prospects who is on the 40-man roster, Jordan Walker. I have a feeling all these young prospects, especially with Jordan Walker, they can be secret weapons, as if we go back to the note of my Angels, Joe Adell. While he is starting the year in the minors for the Angels, I think if he comes up, he can be a secret weapon too. But I think Jordan Walker can definitely be a secret weapon for the St. Louis Cardinals as well. So that's my predictions: Padres West, Mets East, Cardinals Central.
All right, next up here, we're going to talk about who is going to be playing in the ALCS and in the NLCS. For me, my NLCS pick, I'm going to say, is going to be the Dodgers versus the Cardinals. I really think that this is going to be, I want that NLCS, and I really think that this is going to be, I think that I would like the Dodgers to get back to the World Series. And in the ALCS, I have the Yankees Astros again. Try to see if the Yankees can get the monkey off their back against Houston. What about you, Isaiah? ALCS and NLCS picks.
This is why we love baseball, because baseball is a very unpredictable sport. Every single year you think you can predict it, you end up cannot. Before I do give it, there's one pick I do need to change, and that is my AL wildcard pick, one of them. I'm going to pick the A's to make the playoffs out of the wild card. Taylor convinced me. He convinced me on the A's. I think they have a lot of young talent there. The lineup is going to be able to, put together great at bats and get a lot of runs on the board. I think the pitching holds up, and Fujinami is going to be the guy that's going to dominate, and he's going to be the guy that's going to send a message throughout the entire world of baseball that he's legit, and he's going to be in the running for Cy Young. And here's another thing. Dalton Jeffries is a guy that I'm predicting right now when he comes back from Tommy John, whether it's in August or September, he's going to be a difference maker for the Oakland A's, and Aguilar as well. And Familia is going to be that lockdown closer that the A's have been lacking for the last couple of years. So the A's are going to make the playoffs as a wild card. ALCS pick. For me, I am going to go, when it comes to the ALCS, I am going to go with the Texas Rangers versus I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers versus the Tampa Bay Rays, because I think I'm really high on this Rangers club. I think Bruce Bochy is going to bring a championship culture to Texas. I think that the pitching is going to hold up. DeGrom's going to hold up. Evaldi's going to hold up. They're going to be able to give the Rangers, both of them combined, will be able to give the Rangers about 60 starts, both of them two combined. And then you just need at least 28 starts from both of them. And I think both of them will hold up. The lineup will mesh. The pitching will be good. And I think the Rangers go out and get a closer midseason to anchor that bullpen. And I think it's going to be a 2010 San Francisco Giants run for the Rangers. And the Rays are always in it. You can't always count out the Rays. So give me Rays, Rangers, ALCS. NLCS, I'm going to go Phillies, Dodgers, Loro. Your team versus my team in the NLCS. Philadelphia's got the lineup. They've got the pitching now. The Dodgers, we know how loaded they are. It's going to be Dodgers, Phillies, World Series, or NLCS, just like I predicted last season.
I would like that, honestly. I mean, Trey Turner against his former team, I wouldn't mind that at all,
Yeah.
But anyways, for my World Series pick, I'm going to have a Dodgers and Yankees World Series. That's everyone's dream, but that's my dream World Series.
For me, I am going to go with the Dodgers and the Rangers. I think that this Texas team reminds me a lot of that Giants team from 2010. And they have Bruce Bochy there. It's going to be Dave Roberts, Loro, versus Bruce Bochy in Texas. Jacob deGrom versus Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias, Walker Buehler, Freddie Freeman versus Corey Seager versus his former team. I mean, that's going to be the World Series.
And I think who wins it is the Dodgers, if that's were to happen.
Are we giving our predictions? Are we giving
Go ahead, pick who our champion will be for the World Series. I'm picking the Dodgers over the Yankees in 7, and then my World Series MVP will be Julio Urias.
Since I've been riding on the Rangers boat, I'm just going to do it. Give me Texas. I think Texas wins the World Series this year. I think that the Rangers finally bring home the first World Series championship trophy in Texas Rangers history. I think Bruce Bochy in his first season will get the job done. The pitching is going to be the biggest strength for the Rangers. The lineup is going to mash, and it's going to be a perfect blend, and it's going to lead them to a trophy. Give me Texas in 6 over LA. And as far as MVP, Corey Seager, because Corey Seager always performs in the World Series.
Well, I think Corey Seager is a good player in the playoffs. But anyways, we have a ton of games to talk about, but I got to think we got to break this down. I think we got to talk about the good games here on opening day. We'll start with the Rangers and Phillies here. I mean, we're not going to talk about every single one because it's too much. But I'll tell you, Rangers, Phillies, DeGrom, Nola. Give me DeGrom over Nola any day.
This is going to be a hell of a battle, Laurel. I could see this being like 1-0 because these two pitchers are just super dynamic. And also, don't forget, this is Bruce Bochy's first game as the Texas Rangers manager. And the Phillies, with their lineup, they're going to come ready to play. I'm going to go 3-2 Philly. I think it's a good pitching duel until the 5th or the 6th inning. Then DeGrom gets taken out, and then Philly's lineup puts together a couple of runs to give them the win. So give me Philly over Texas to open the season.
Yankees Giants. Aaron Judge against his childhood team. Give me the Yankees. I think the Yankees can win this series. Maybe a 4-game sweep or maybe 3 out of 4.
Who's pitching in that first game for both San Francisco?
Logan Webb versus Garrett Cole.
Oh my gosh, this is another great pitching matchup. Give me New York. Give me New York by a final score of 4-2. I think it's an evenly pitched game, but then the Yankees lineup comes together and just is able to put multiple great at bats together and then have guys on base, and then Aaron Judge against his former team knocks them in, and the Yankees prevail.
You got the Astros and the White Sox here on ESPN. Who do I like? I'll say the Houston Astros.
Astros versus White Sox. Oh. If Dallas Keuchel was still in the White Sox, this would be Keuchel versus his former team. But give me the Astros. I don't really trust is it Giolito going for Chicago?
No, it's Dylan Cease.
Oh. Yeah, give me the Astros still. I think the Astros get the job done. I think their lineup, Chicago's lineup is kind of weird. It's got a lot of question marks to them. Plus, it's in Houston as well. It's the ring ceremony. So give me Houston.
Now we're gonna wrap it up with final thoughts here. So, anyways, Isaiah, I can't wait for baseball. And actually, one more sleep. We all are gonna sleep well tonight, knowing that baseball is back.
Yeah, man, baseball is officially back. I'm bummed that I won't be able to go to opening day tomorrow. It's going to suck, but, it is what it is. But I want to thank our fans for tuning in tonight. I want to thank Chardot, Edward, Eric, Michael Yarbrough. Thanks for tuning in. James Gonzalez, we had him tune in tonight. Thank you so much, James, for tuning in to our program. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed our predictions, our wild predictions. We'll probably come back after the season to see where we were right and where we were wrong. But, it's going to be a great season. Baseball is back, Loro. It's time to play ball again, man. The spring is here. It's a great time to be alive, man. And I'll give my prediction for the A's-Angels game. Give me Oakland to shock Ohtani and the Angels tomorrow, because here's why. Oakland always does amazing against the Angels. For whatever reason, they always beat the Angels, and they always batter Ohtani. So give me the A's to beat Ohtani and the Angels on opening night. But I can't wait, man. The race to the postseason begins now.
I'm going to go with the Dodgers sweeping Arizona here. I think that the pitching matchup's going to be good. I'm more excited to see Noah Syndergaard pitch. Don't matter what people say about him. People say he's not the pitcher he once was. I think about it as a reclamation project for Noah Syndergaard.
When is Syndergaard pitching? Is he the third starter now?
Fourth.
Oh, so
he's going to go. Arias is starting opening day, then May, then Kershaw, and then Syndergaard.
So the Dodgers won as a 4-game series?
It's a 4-game series with Arizona.
Oh, so he's going. Oh, okay. So yeah, I think the Dodgers are either going to sweep or they're going to take 3 out of 4 because they always play really well against Arizona.
For the next Batter Up show, I think we're going to try to do it like last year, every Sunday nights, and try to recap some of the big marquee games on Fox, FS1, and also Dodgers and whatever. So for Isaiah, Loro signing off for now. You guys have a great night, and we leave you with this.
slang, I speak it every day. I'm trying to get it poppin', each and every way. It's one nation, under goons, my goons are stripping